would be fun to do potential Galarian forms of some different Pokemon in case they are possibly available in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So first off, I did Galarian Hoothoot and Galarian Noctowl. Now we've already seen regular Hoothoot, so the only explanation I have for that is either it's been done to throw people off, or maybe it's possible that both the regular and Galarian forms are available for Hoothoot. So the Galarian forms are only available in the icy areas, and the regular Hoothoot's available elsewhere. So I decided to do Ice type Hoothoot and Noctowl, and made Ice flying type rather, so they're not just one type. And I thought, basing it on cold weather adapted birds, and to modify the original designs to include ice crystals, icy elements, and an icy color palette. The shape of the tail reminds me of England, and so does the Argyle-like designs on the Noctowl's belly. Here I'm doing a mountainous background after looking up various references. I looked up references of mountains, pastoral England, British landscapes, and British forests to use to help me make this video. I made original paintings based on some public domain images and reference I found on these categories. This is done in different layers in Procreate. I used a multiply layer to do the blue. At one point I had some of it on multiply and some of it on normal mode, and I did a couple different layers. I had to make the mountains more blue because in the reference they were much more blue. Then I decided to do a Galarian form Orchid Blossom, which I decided would be almost exactly the same as regular Blossom, except that it would look different. So I chose the orchid because that was one of the search results on Google for British flowers, and for something that's important to Great Britain. Orchids have curative abilities in mythology, so I changed its ability to natural cure, but otherwise kept it as a regular blossom. For the Hoothoot, I changed its secondary ability to Ice Body, and its hidden ability to Snow Warning, which remains the same for the Noctowl as well. To honor the beta version starters for the original Pokemon Gold and Silver, which was a Fire Bear, I did a fire version of Teddiursa and Ursaring, which I decided to make pure fire type, though I was on the fence whether it should be fire and normal type. Here I'm just painting the background in different layers. At some point I will do an absolute top layer with just some grass and weeds and plants closest to the viewer to be on top of everything else. I also used various brushes in Procreate, including special plant brushes, to help fill this in quickly and well. On its own layer I did the sketch in pink to try to just get the general shapes, proportions, and body guidelines. And as you can see, I shrunk up the entire proportions of the body because Teddiursa's proportions are mostly one head tall, and then the body's about the same size as the head, only slightly larger. Whereas I tried to make it more like a normal animal and the body a lot larger proportionally. Watch those proportions with Pokemon. They're definitely exaggerated more than most real animals. I changed the colors brighter and more reddish than the regular colorations for Teddiursa and Ursaring, and I added sun designs instead of moons. I also added the ruff on the Teddiursa and the bright golden flame-like, sort of wing-like as well, shoulder fur on the Ursaring. I used various references of Teddiursa and Ursaring to help me do this as well, and I created a special stamp brush of this sun design, which I warped into place in Procreate. I created it in a separate square-sized document. It's actually quite easy to make custom brushes, and I advise you do so for patterns, designs, and just different types of brushes to use for things like plants in the background, and in general making custom brushes is very helpful. For Teddiursa, I kept the pickup ability, which changes into Guts on Ursaring, but instead the secondary ability becomes Flame Body, which stays the same on Ursaring, and the hidden ability becomes Flash Fire. Other than that and the type change, there would be different level up moves. Here is a Velosa Pokemon trainer I did. The very beginning of this recording is a little messed up, so I cut it out, and I decided just to show at the point where I changed the model to be more viewable. I had it a little bit more risque originally. Anyway, here I am using different brushes to add texture and tone. I used a couple different references of other people's Pokemon trainers and official Pokemon trainers, and I tried to make sure that she was in an exciting, pose, like she's telling her Pokemon what to do in battle. I wanted to keep the silhouette good and the clothing design something that I would wear, something that my character Velosa would also wear. I wanted it to be not too complicated. I wanted it to be pretty simple, but I didn't want it to be too simple either, so I decided on that. I used different brushes here to get tone and texture, and I decided to do color lines for the trainer, but for all the Pokemon I actually ended up leaving the line art black, so there's a little bit of a contrast there, but I think it still works out. I did this in a separate 8.5 by 11 file, then saved it with a clear background after doing a separate background in this file, so I can import it into a whole new file later, which you'll see in a minute with the Pokemon done scale size. I'm actually really happy with this picture. I think it comes across as a Pokemon trainer, and it successfully has the correct emotions and range of the things I wish to accomplish with this picture, which is basically a Velosa Pokemon trainer for the year at least, but I might still be doing another one. I also really like this vest-like jacket. It's supposed to be able to close, but I didn't actually portray the buttons that should have been on it, but it's supposed to be able to close over the chest, but that it's open at the hips. But anyway. So this section here is me importing it. For some reason, even though I had the background clear, it saved it white. I tried twice, it still saved it white. I don't understand. So I had to erase the white background. I painted it another original mountainous, pastoral, British looking background. And here you can see everything more scale size. I added in some clouds and you get it all worked out. So you can see the Pokemon more scale size. Keeping in mind, of course, that some of them are supposed to be right next to her or right behind her or right in front of her. So that depth perception matters. Well, I hope you enjoyed this slightly delayed video. I really have to start getting things back on track for posting on Wednesdays, but I'll do my best. I hope you enjoyed this look at some Fakemon I did as Galarian or Galar regional form variants. I'm really looking forward to Pokemon Sword and Shield, and so far, the hype train is definitely going. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and I'm hoping these games do not disappoint. I hope you're looking forward to them as well. See you next video. Bye!